You know, the latest example, and they were flying around the press briefing today with a boner like so many bats out of hell. All this loose talk. The Republicans now are feeling 10 feet tall because they now have substantial control of both branches of the of both houses of the legislative branch. But because they're such dumbasses, I mean, you know, you've got to stop and think. If these guys were not able to govern for the past 6 years, why did anyone think that if they did become the majority party, which they now are, that they would be able to govern? I mean, that is a nonsensical thought. And you've got to consider this. So many of the newcomers to the Republican caucus are religious fanatics. They're not there to govern. They're not there to do those things necessary to move a society of 330 million people of all sorts of diverse backgrounds and ideas forward. They can't do it. This is why, and I don't care who's in power. I really don't. It can be Democrats, Republicans, Whigs, Libertarians, dope smokers. I don't care anymore. But I do know this. The only thing that moves a country away from its own self-destruction is an agenda that is identifiable as progressive, one that keeps moving forward, that may not like the idea of X, Y, and Z now being of aspects of the society that have to be included, whether it's marriage equality or voting equality or equal justice under the law. That may really piss certain racists and bigots off. As a matter of fact, it doesn't. It may piss them off. Of course, it does, because they go by this antediluvian horse crap that they pick up out of their Bibles and their holy texts, and they listen to these fanatics and freaks who pump them up, people like Boner and Mitch McConnell, who constantly pump them up and get the hate really stirred up. These people know what they're talking about. You know, dog whistle my ass. They almost come right out and say it. You know, Barack Obama's a black man. You gonna let a black man run this country? Really? You gonna do that? Now, here's another thing for you. I don't care if you disagree with what I'm saying. I really don't care. I've been in this country long enough, I've been alive long enough to understand as best a white person can. Qualifier there, as best a white person can, as to what black folk deal with, where the disappointment comes from, where the rage comes from, where the horror comes from. And I've also been around long enough to understand, and especially here in the South. I've been here in the South for going into 5 decades, and I know how these crackers think. Trust me on that. So to listen to the Republican Party, which is now a wholly owned subsidiary, the soul of it, if you want to call it soul, is owned outright by the neo-fascist Christians. Now, what this Congress does, what these Republicans do when they get down to legislating, depends on what their masters with the whip, the billionaires and the millionaires in corporate America, tell them to do. But they raise all this sand and stink and dust like they're going to do this and they're going to do that. And no, they're not. They're going to do exactly what they're told. But this is a party of pure racism and pure religious bigotry. There is no other aspect of the current Republican Party other than those two, especially nothing else that motivates it. Racism and neo-fascist attitudes about how society should be run. Now, included in that neo-fascist attitude, of course, is religion, because religion always is, always has been, always will be fascist in its nature. Power from the top down, literally the top down. This is it. No argument, no debate. Do this or I'll goddamn kill you. Now, if that's not fascism, truth seeker, you tell me a better definition.